Welcome to the Blink podcast. Darren here, really excited about this topic today because what we want you thinking about is how do I get more clients, connect with more clients in a year we know that's going to challenge us more than ever before. Hi everybody, Darren here. Let's get in my good mate all the way from Melbourne, Australia, Jonathan Creek. Good to see you, mate. How are you?
Very good, thanks, Darren. Great to be back on the Blink podcast. Gee, you know what? We don't do enough of these. Our audience tells us all the time, more. They want more.
I know, but
the people want more, Darren.
We can only fit in so much, mate. We can only fit in so much. When you're as busy as you are flying around the place and me flying around the place, it's bloody. But anyway, I think today's topic is gold.
Well, it's pretty important when the topic is who is your client. It's probably one of the key pieces of business that you probably need to understand if you want to be successful. But the way that you unpack it and the way that you put these things into lists and things like that, I love it. So this is Darren's topic today. So if it sucks, you can blame him. But I don't think it will. It's going to be amazing.
Look, one of the key things that I always get in talking about is understanding who your client is, because I've noticed over the last probably 20 years, the customer style and who we work with and how we work with customers has changed dramatically. And because of that, no matter what industry sector you're in, you have to get a really good understanding of what that customer is and how they've changed, because I think our service proposition now has to be really clear around exactly how we treat our customers to retain them and also make sure that we're doing business with them.
It's a weird one, in that, almost sounded New Zealand then, but it's super weird. The market at the moment across all sectors in terms of buyer behaviours and servicing behaviours. We've got this sort of hybrid sort of thing where some people have adopted new ways to do things. Other people like the traditional way of doing things. And then like the providers are trying to do a hybrid-y sort of middle version of it, and they haven't quite got it right.
And I see every day, mate. This is the piece that I'm seeing, and I want your thoughts from what's happening in Australia. Is I'm still seeing that a lot of our service industries are still stuck in COVID. So they're stuck in that behaviors of, hey, we're not in the office yet. We're not connecting with enough customers. We're still worried about what our environment looks like or how our environment feels, rather than exactly how our customers are feeling and what our customers are needing. And I know that's a real dynamic that's playing out in businesses here right at the moment.
There's no greater example of that than the public service.
Yeah.
No greater example of that. Like, we're going through a scenario.
We just only work in that industry, mate. That would be gold.
Cost of living's going through the roof. Australia's on the border of being broke. We've changed our tax brackets to allow people to have a bit more money, but risk greater inflation, which then, of course, risks interest rates, which then is going to squash the people and hurt the people who can't afford it the most.
Yep.
And then we've got the public service union. And I'm not a union basher, but this just beggars belief. They want the public service here in Victoria to be able to work from home completely, get a 3% per year pay rise. They may deserve it. Plus a $5,000 bonus just for the fun of it, straight out. Yep. And a mobility levy for people who work from home, so I don't know why you need a mobility levy, whatever that is, and only want to work 4 days a week.
Yeah. Look,
for a job, let's be honest. For a job that hasn't really been done to a great standard for probably the last 4 decades. I mean, it takes a year and a half here at the moment to get a real copy of your birth certificate.
How crazy is that?
Like, you got kids who are turning 18, can't get a job, cannot work until they've got a copy of their birth certificate. They're sitting there.
So this is where this topic today, in terms of who is your customer and what is your customer like, because we've got 8 key things here that, as it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you have got to consider your answer to these 8 points. So
Yes.
you've got to be thinking about, what is that what does that point mean for my business, and how am I addressing it? And I think that's going to be the thing today, where our listeners are going to get the most out of this by working out how they can apply each of these points in their business. Because if you do, I think you're going to have a lot stronger clients that will stick with you for a very long time.
Yeah, and it'll save you time because you're
Yeah.
going to be so much clearer
Yep.
on who it is you're after, who are the
Yep.
ones who are actually going to be a greater chance of giving you a return on your investment of whatever
Yep.
it is you're transacting with. Uh, there's only benefits all around by getting really, really clear on this. Yeah, it's sort of part of a process I put businesses through called brand story clarity. Like, get really clear about who they are, so
Yep.
that you can be really clear to them when you're communicating on who you are and what you do.
Love it. Yep. That's
So let's
exactly.
start with it. Number one is time poor. The customer nowadays, the customer in this current environment, 2024, February 28th, uh, time poor. Even though they get an extra day this year in the calendar,
That's
they
right.
get an extra day tomorrow, they're still time poor.
Yep. And because they are time poor, they cram a lot into their lives. They actually are very intolerant of you wasting their time
Mm.
or not getting to them, back to them quicker. But there's another edge to this as well. So you think about, one of the biggest thing that sucks up most of our time is we use our phones, we're scootering around Facebook and all those social media apps. So what that actually does is it gives us a sense that we are busy and we are time poor because we're on all the time. We're on. And the thing is, what we're going to be thinking about here is, even though customers think they're time poor, what we've got to be able to do is to give them the structure, to give them some time to be able to take a moment and make a decision around whatever product we are selling. So yes, customers are time poor. So we've got to build a structure around that to be able to say to them, look, come into my office, have a cup of coffee, take some time to be able to go through this information with me so you can get and make a better decision. And that's the sort of thing where we're going to be thinking now about, yes, people are time poor, but if we can structure that time piece well for them, we actually will give them a better experience.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that they're time poor, but they're interruption rich.
Yes, totally.
Right?
Yep, you
So
got it.
you've got this scenario where they're time poor, but they're so distracted because
Yep,
the borders of communication have just infiltrated every angle of our lives. I mean, I got a phone call just before while we're doing this, and you got to put your hand on your watch to stop it from ringing.
yep,
Um, because we've got these devices, because we've got this ability now, um, anyone can reach anyone at any time or interrupt their time.
yep,
So I think people have got to get really disciplined, not only in the way they work, but the way that they also communicate with their clients, in the
100%.
fact that you don't want to keep being the interruption.
Very
You want
good.
to make sure that if you're going to get them on a phone call or get them into your shop, you're not distracting them with magpie syndromes and this and
Yep,
that and small talk. It's like, okay, you've come in for a reason. How can I help you? All right, you need some advice or some information on how to make the best choice for you. Okay, well, here's my 3 reasons why I
yep,
think you should go this way.
you got it.
Not 9, not
Yep,
7, not 11, 3. Here's my
yep,
3 top reasons. Okay, are those reasons enough to convince you to take the next step, which is to
yes,
make a decision? No, no, no. I need a bit more information about point number 2. Okay, well, here's another 3 reasons why point number 2 is important.
yep,
Again, are we
very good.
ready yet? Are we there? Yes. I think I'm ready to transact. Okay, let's do it. Not, I'll be back in a minute, or sorry, I'm on a lunch break, or sorry, I'm working from home, I don't have the paperwork. Ready to go.
Nah, that's it. And
They
that's
just want to tick
that's
these
how you
things
cut
off
through it.
their list.
Yep,
It's
and that's where you
amazing
cut through it.
it's amazing the weight that comes off people's shoulders now because they're so time poor that when they can get big things off their shoulders, it feels good.
Yep.
I've got a scenario at the moment where I need to be building a new garage in my backyard. And I've spent hours looking at all different designs of garages and sheds. And it's at the point now where it's like, I've spent so much. If I was to bill my hourly rate, this shed is very expensive.
Yeah.
I just need to pull the trigger and build a shed.
As
long as it keeps the car protected, that's all I need.
And that's where building that structure around your client's time and giving them a clear indication of how long it'll take, what the method is, what we're going to do, the 3 points we're going to take you through. It gives me, the customer, a moment to go, this is the allocation of time, and I feel comfortable without being distracted by all those other variables. And that's a real good one. Number two.
Also, number two is high expectations. And I think it's linked. How you respect someone's time is part of the expectations. If you value their time and you can demonstrate that you value it, they're going to say, all right, this person values my time. Yeah, I've got high expectations around that.
Yeah.
Because it's a win already.
Yeah. Because you think about customers over the last 10 to 15 years, right? All of our expectations on what we get, what we're provided with, and how good the service experience needs to be to impress me or hold my attention now has got to be so much better, right? So much better. I mean, in the automotive space, I talk about this quite often, whereas I go in the old days, you used to buy a car, you'd walk into the dealership, they'd throw you a set of keys and say, hey, your car you've purchased is on the third row back there on the left. There's the keys, and thanks very much for buying a car from us. Nowadays, I mean, one of my dealerships put a big black cover over the top of it with a big yellow bow. They have flags, finish line flags that they wave as you drive out of the dealership. There's an information pack that goes with you to say any problems, any issues, come back to us. There's a service relationship that they establish for you right from the day you drive out the yard. I mean, the expectation is that you are provided with all of that support. And I think today as customers, we all have a higher expectation. But as service providers, what we've got to realize is actually what we did yesterday is not going to be good enough for tomorrow.
Yeah, I've got a couple of car yards within 300-400 meters, and they've got a special garage for the new cars.
Yep.
And the bow goes on, and it's the smoothest roller door you've ever seen. Just glides up.
Yeah, I've got one of mine.
They just need a smoke machine and lasers, and then I'd be happy. But
so here's this one. So one of my dealerships got that, right? And they also have a bell, right? So when the customer's gone through their whole delivery process and they're just about ready, they ring the bell. Yeah. And the rule is in the dealership is that if you are not doing something critical at that particular moment, you get your ass out of your seat and you walk down to, and they call it the celebration bay. And they meet the customer who's about to drive off with their new car and congratulate them on the purchase. So as they're about to leave the dealership, probably 5 or 6 people from around the dealership will have come and said, congratulations on buying this great car. Really, really, thank you so much. And looking forward to dealing with you again sometime in the future.
And you know what? Meanwhile, supermarkets are going for self-checkouts.
I know. So where's our expectation, right? So expectations going up and up and up and up, and we're in a situation where we're going, well, actually, these service propositions have really got to take a shot in the arm and really make some big improvement on where we need to go. So it is so important, right?
Yeah, I think people need to, Jeff Ram is a great speaker in this space around, not customer service, celebrity service.
Yeah.
And, it's just that taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
No matter what it is you sell, pays dividends. I mean, I remember as a kid going to supermarkets, there would be people there to pack the bag for you.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you're lucky to, if the technology misbehaves, you're lucky to be able to find someone who can put their code in and clear it so you can keep going.
That's
The other day, I swiped one supermarket's card at the wrong supermarket, and the whole place went into almost like a nuclear lockdown. It was like they've got an intruder, and they wouldn't let me buy my stuff. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, we
Yeah.
move on. All right, number 3, choice. Customers, clients, human beings have access to greater choice nowadays. They've got access to more information, but they've also got access to more choice. So if you don't respect points 1 and 2, time poor, and their high expectations, it is so much easier for them to find someone else to choose.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And that's the piece, right? Is this whole idea now that we have not only just a regional choice, we now often have a national choice, and we also have an international choice. So the ability for us now not only just to just to take a selection from our little neighborhood shopping area, but to go global with our selection is just, it changes the way as a customer now we think about choice. And I think one of the key things that you've got to be thinking about here is, what are the reasons why I would buy local versus buying the cheapest on an international environment?
Well, there's been a decision in the Creek household this week, Darren. This is breaking
Stop
news.
it.
This week, where the Creek household's choice of chocolate has moved away from Cadbury's and
Stop it.
picked up Whittaker's.
You're kidding.
Cadbury's is out the door. They've done something to upset the Minister for Home Affairs. She's not
Oh,
happy.
no.
And so now she's like, I think I'm going to try this New Zealand chocolate. And of course, me hanging out with you last year got to experience Whittaker's firsthand, and I was a big
So
rat
good.
for it.
Yep.
And gone. Cadbury's is out the door. Look, see you later.
Customer choice.
International brands swooped in.
Customer choice.
Those New Zealand cows, they make good chocolate.
That's it.
So, choice is also really interesting in the sense that, and I've gone blank. I've gone blank on that. But it's really interesting in the fact that this is what I wanted to know about. Wake up, Jonathan. How do we counter it? How do we counter it? How do we build the loyalty that means that they don't choose someone else?
Because we hear it all.
Is that now?
We hear it all the time, right? Now the customer's not loyal anymore. The customer's not going to stick with you. Even if you put the effort in, they don't be loyal. And I just go, actually, the customer's got so much choice, right? So what you've got to be making sure is all of these 8 points you are considering and actually ensuring that's in your proposition, in your service. Because if you do, you will build loyalty.
It comes down to loyalty, doesn't it?
This is the bit that I have a chuckle with, right? So we work in real estate quite often, right? So real estate agent says to me, Darren, I can't believe this. I sold these people into this house 5 years ago, and you won't believe it. They bloody put a sign up with another agency, and another agent's bloody listed it. I didn't even know they were thinking of selling. And I go, okay, cool. So when did you last talk to them? And they look at me like, what do you mean? I said, when did you last talk to them? And they were, well, I probably didn't talk to them since I sold them the house. And
Don't
I'm
worry
like,
about your agent. I had that happen to me. Like in real life. Bought a house off a guy who wouldn't negotiate on price. He was a bit of an a-hole, to be honest. I bought the house off him. 4 years later, I sell the house through an agent who actually kept ringing me, and as I was a journalist,
yep.
I was a journalist at the time. Property was going up and down from the 2000s to 2006. He was ringing me all the time. Here's an angle for a story. You should investigate this. You should do that. So he was helping me in my day-to-day work. He was giving me stories and angles. Then he'd be the talent on television. It was a win-win situation because he was getting exposure as the real estate agent with his finger on the pulse. I was getting stories that made my boss happy because everyone loves real estate. So anyway, when I go to sell that house, I'm like, mate, you're the man. We're friends. The other agent rang me, blew my doors off. I thought we had a connection. I sold you a... Mate, I haven't heard from you in 5 years.
Oh, Jonathan.
I think my response was, "Oh, you still doing real estate? I didn't realise. I hadn't heard from you. Haven't seen you."
So this is where the customer has got choice, right? And if you're not there, keep building that connection, holding the relationship, making sure you stand out, you're toast. So
And it's so
choice is
easy to do. It's so easy to do that now because you
totally.
can do it. You can do it digitally, and if you do it the smart way, the digital content
Yeah.
can maintain the relationship
Relationship. Yep. You
with
got it.
multiple people in one execution.
Yeah, I love it.
Number 4, information access, and this really sort of comes down to choice too. They're linked a bit, isn't it? In that
Yep.
we've just got so much access to information. Is that
Well, if you've got a situation or a problem or a drama in your world, and you need a solution. You can go to Mr. Google, search it up, and you'll end up with 1,928,000 pages that have information on your particular problem, right? And the,
well,
th- and the,
the last time I searched WebMD, I was supposed to be dead. So it's not always what you want. But
it's not
yeah,
always accurate, but it's information, right? So
I
because they've got
typed in the
because
symptoms and it went, I'm sorry.
because there's so much information out there, you as the consumer now can sit down, actually go through this, learn, actually understand exactly what your problem is, understanding what the potential solutions are, and be smarter about it than actually the person providing the service. And I have this in my automotive space, mate. I have this all the time in automotive, right? I get people coming onto a car yard that know more about the car than the salesperson selling it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right, because they can get online and actually research the hell out of it because they're interested in one vehicle, one model of a particular range, and they can become an absolute expert in it. So when they walk into a dealership and then they feel that the salesperson or the person looking after them doesn't know as much about the car as they do, what do you reckon they think?
Dead shit.
Like, it's just like, this isn't the experience that I wanted. So yeah, that information access across all industries now just means that customers are way better informed, and because of that we have to treat them so, because they're not dumb anymore. They don't, it's not like they're coming from a point of not knowing. They actually do know, and they know a lot of information very quickly.
Yeah, and I think it even goes easier than that. They don't even have to actually search. All they have to
No.
do is just have conversations with their friends
Yep.
about what they're trying to do or what they're trying to buy or what their problem is. And
Yep.
as long as the business, the service, the salesperson is creating the content that answers those questions,
Yep.
the platforms link it up.
I know.
So
Yeah.
they don't even have to search anymore and they get the information thereafter. It's this micro learning environment that we're in now that just creates these super customers.
Yeah.
And when you got super customers, those average salespeople fall by the wayside pretty quick.
Yep. That's right. And that's why this whole session was focused on that super customer, right? Because understanding how that super customer behaves, and when you look at all of these 8 points, you go, man, if you just understand those, your ability to hold on and grow your super customers to build a really strong business is right in front of you.
And this is the incredible thing, right? Super customers used to be pretty rare.
Oh,
But
of course.
but there's more super customers than ever. We're in
Yep.
an era of super customers.
Yep. Totally. All right.
Unbelievable.
Number 5, suspicious.
Suspicious.
So this is
Suspicious.
where
There is
there's-
a yeah. I know where
there's this is where customers today are being educated and encouraged to be suspicious about everything, right?
Yeah.
And we've just got a big campaign here in New Zealand running by one of the big banks about basically every piece of communication that goes into your inbox. It could be a spam or it could be a targeting phishing email, and just be really careful and hit delete, right? So what's
Yeah,
happening is,
I'm suspicious of the bank's agenda for that information.
yeah, but you know what I'm
There's
saying?
always
Like,
an angle.
they're educating everybody to be suspicious about the information or the environment where they get it. And what I'm noticing today, and I don't know about you, but I definitely am, no matter what the situation is, whenever someone's saying something to me, in terms of selling a product or a service, I'm suspicious. I'm like, what's behind this? Where, who's the company providing it? Where's the product from? And it's just that's being inbred into our customers.
Yeah, I love call. I love it when I get a call center cold call because I just hang them out. I'm not as time poor as other people, Darren. I always find time to troll a call center
I
person,
haven't got time for that. Come
and
on.
I just hang them on until I just see how long I can keep them on the line before they tell me what they actually really want from me.
Yep.
I'll talk about their day. I'll talk about where they are. In fact, I got married on one. The lady was at one of the. There's these incredible call centers where they're not allowed to hang up. The rule is they're not allowed to hang up first. And when
Really?
you got when you got one of those, they will do and say anything. And this lady, she said
Oh,
she had
you're
a husband,
so
but I
mean.
convinced her that I was going to be a better husband.
You're so mean.
And I had my kids in the car. They thought it was quite hilarious. But
Oh,
I
you're a
think I need to
person.
start a TikTok account of my trolling of suspicious phone calls and activities. But you're right. Customers nowadays, because they have so much information,
Yep.
if you aren't on point, if you slip up one little bit, like could you imagine the electronic car market at the moment?
Oh,
Like before anyone buys an electric car, they would watch easily 100 hours of YouTube videos
about electric vehicles.
about
100%.
electric vehicles.
Yep.
And they'd go in, doesn't matter if it's a Tesla or a Toyota or a Nissan or a
Yep.
BMW or a Porsche, they'd go in there, and if the salesperson says, you don't want to get one of those other brands, their battery cells are made in, China or whatever it is, or Africa, or, they haven't got as many kilowatts or whatever. And you can just imagine the person sits there and goes, really? I know what the real case.
Yeah.
And now that you're telling me furfies, I don't trust anything you've told me for the last half hour.
So now I am absolutely suspicious. And that's again is where we've got to understand our customers today have got to understand or get an understanding of where you come from in terms of the information and the purpose that you're giving it so that it breaks down that sense of being suspicious about what you're saying and why would I trust you to be the person that gives me the advice. So that
So what?
suspicious piece is dangerous, man.
So to the salespeople who are listening to this podcast, if they aren't sure, of a statistic or whatever it is, I've had a couple of blanks there, but if they aren't sure about a component or an element or an angle or whatever it is, a stat, and they don't know, what do they do?
That particular component I think has changed. So what I'll do quickly is just go and check what the current is on that, or we'll get a reading. I'll go and get that latest information on that so that you've got the ability to go and get it. The worst thing you can do is to try and fudge it, right?
Yeah.
So you have got to say, hey, look, that has changed, I think, or that information I haven't got with me right now, but I need to go and get it. But I actually give salespeople a bit of a hard time. If you ever say to a customer, I haven't got that information or I don't know it, then you need to go and do your homework, right? Because you should know those answers to those questions. Because after you've sold the same item 3 or 4 times, you should have a pretty good idea what the customer's information they're needing and make sure that you've got that learnt and you know it well. So again, that's gets around that suspicious feeling that the customer would have.
It's their job to know.
Yeah, totally. And that learning and getting deeper into your product and understanding what are the likely questions that are going to come from a customer are so vitally important now because it does help you get rid of some of that suspicious thinking from your customer.
Yeah, specifications around cars,
Oh,
overlays and planning
basics.
planning
Yep.
things over real estate.
Yep.
I know when sneaker stores get new drops, every staff member stood there and they go through the spec of every shoe,
Yep.
every bit about it, why it's different, why it's
That's
special,
right.
why it isn't special, and they need to know it because if they get a sneakerhead in the store, you can bet your bottom dollar that they probably know more about the shoe
Yeah.
and the history and all that sort of stuff, because they're at the moment, particularly Nike, they're doing really interesting things where they're blending different models from the 90s.
Yes.
So you get mixtures, and
Yep.
some mixtures are better than others, and so you've got to be really, really into
Knowledgeable.
it.
Yep.
Mm.
Absolutely. All right. Number
Budget
6.
conscious. Budget
Yeah.
conscious. We are in an era of inflation. We are in a cost crisis, as they say, and it all comes down to budget conscious. And I think you and I have definitely seen how that's affected real estate.
Totally.
There's a lot of correction in the market. We've almost gone back to a normal market. I think we're
Yep.
still seeing some price increases, but rather than 6 or 7% here in Australia, they've sort of moved back to 3% of annual year, or not yield, but price increase, growth,
Yep.
whatever you want to call it. Cars, that was really interesting because you and I were in Melbourne about this time last year, and we walked past a yard, not a car yard, it was just an empty lot near the city, full of brand new cars, all
Yep.
dusty and dirty and whatever. And we were sort of having a little look at that and a discussion and what it is. And you were talking about the fact that to get their movement bonuses, car yards were scooping up or just getting the extra 10 to make sure everyone got their manufacturer's bonus.
Yep.
Have those cars moved? That's the question.
Well, this is the thing, right? Because the consumer is really budget conscious, one of the buying decisions or one of the ways they make their buying decision is how much is it going to cost me and can I afford it, right? And this is the part where when you're providing a service to a particular customer, they can check competitors' prices really quickly. I mean, I was in a Noel Leeming, which is a retailer, whitewear retailer, and there was a person that was in the store looking at different whitewear while having the app open, looking what the competitors were doing in the store, like you're comparing that, right? So they are very conscious about actually what they can save by popping next door or changing to somewhere else. And I think one of the things we've got to do, and budget, you've got to be conscious of it, but also you've got to sort of be able to take that conversation into value. So understanding we could do it cheaper or there is a cheaper option, but this is the difference between that and what we provide. So you're actually getting this sense of, yep, I know you're conscious of your budget, but I also want to make sure that you understand what that budget allows you to get or be excluded from. And as soon as you do that, you're away.
Yeah, and I think if you can't meet people on price, you've got to throw in extras.
Oh, it's value, right?
You've got to meet those higher expectations. I mean, we're seeing new cars sold now with 7-year full service warranties.
Yep.
7 years.
I know.
What does that do to the corner shop local mechanic?
Totally. And this is the part, right? So to be able to do that and save your future budget for having those servicing costs or those sort of things now are becoming hugely important and decision makers for clients who are looking to make a buying decision. So, being able to put together value as part of that budget conscious decision making is so important.
When was the last time you had a car for more than 7 years?
Never.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And that's the passion.
So you'll never pay for a service. You'll only pay if you break it.
That's right.
By doing something stupid.
Yep. And when you look at some of this new electric car stuff, they don't need to be serviced at all. So if you're tuning it over every 3 years and it doesn't need a service, the only time you're going to go to the dealership is to pick up your new one.
Yeah, well, I was in a Tesla the other week up in near the Gold Coast, and it had done 750,000 kilometres.
Stop it.
And I sat in it, was like it was brand new.
That's better than my son's remote control car. Yeah, that's crazy. Wow.
It's unbelievable. Poor decision making. Tell us about poor decision making. What they like. What the new client, who is your client, they still make poor decisions. Is this what we're talking about?
You got it. Because customers today don't always make great decisions. So
Is that
sometimes they'll
because they've got too much information?
could be, but most of the time it's because they don't have a decision making framework. So they'll go in and go, well, I'm just going to buy that because I like red. Well, yeah, that's great, but actually, does this do the things you need it to do before we get to color? There's a whole lot of functional things that we should be making the decision on before we get to that. And many customers don't have that decision making framework. So if they haven't got it, they'll make an emotive decision. They'll make it just on budget alone. And then they'll buy the product. It won't do what they wanted. And then they'll blame the salesperson because they didn't do a great job. So one of the things you've got to try and do with customers these days is help them with creating that decision making framework. What are the things that you're going to be doing here to make your decision on? And how do I fill those components with information so that your decision making is way better? And that there nowadays is so important because everyone's rushed, everyone's got lots of information, but really don't know how to use it. So being able to have that framework just means that your customer starts to feel like they can make a better decision. And because you provide them with the framework, they actually will trust you more. And so that's a really good way of sort of helping them with that poor decision making.
I want to better understand the poor decision making. I want to understand where it comes from. Is it coming from because our lives are so public and it's a keeping up with the Joneses thing, so they just rush out to keep up with the Joneses and then it doesn't suit their needs? Or is it because they're so time poor that they just don't go and get the information that they require? Or is it because there's just so much information out there, they get romanced or along into the wrong decision because of smart marketing rather
Yeah.
than basic needs
Analysis.
analysis? Yeah.
That's it, right? Because this is the piece. All I'm saying to us is that you need to have a framework to be able to make your decision. So, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the reason why you want to pick a really good real estate agent is because they're going to take and look after you through the transaction that is the biggest and largest transaction that you'll probably do, handling the biggest asset you'll ever own. So, what you're needing to be doing is to work out how to pick the right agent. Now, most customers will be in a situation where they want to pick their real estate agent based on two things. What are they? Well, price, what do you think my house is worth? And who's got the lowest commission, right? Those are the two things. What are the two worst ways that you can pick your real estate agent? One on who thinks the price is the highest and the one who does the lowest commission.
Desperate enough to lower their commission.
Totally. So actually what you want to do
they're going to do? Because guess what they're going to do, guys? Let you know a little secret here. Guess what they're going to do after the second and third open for inspections and there's no offers? The first thing they're going to ask you to do is, hey, I lowered my commission. How about you lower your price and then we'll get something going?
But you see, and this is the piece. So if you actually want to find the right real estate agent, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, what you've got to do is you've got to focus on three things. Number one, have they got a big enough coverage to get across the buyers that are appropriate for your property? Number two, have they got the core skills that are able to do the job and actually make sure they can handle the marketing, the negotiation, the area information, the area stats. They've got a team, all of those components that are going to make up that they've actually got the skill to do the job. And then thirdly, they have a relationship with you where you can trust the advice that they give you. Now, if I give you that as your framework to make your decision, you will make a much better decision on who you should be working with. And that's where, I work with, we both work with real estate a lot, but this is one of the key things that I say to agents is you've got to get your structure right on that one, because as soon as you do, me as a customer will understand how to make a better decision. And most of the time that'll be you.
When you first mentioned that decision-making framework, I pictured you out shopping with Jules and just out of the top jacket pocket, you'd bring out this poster, which was your decision-making framework. Does the color of this suit match my eyes? Yes. Does it come in a pattern that not other people would wear a lot of? Yes. What else?
So this is the thing, right? So because you've put the time and effort into putting that piece of paper together, your decision-making process is so much better. You get what you want, you get it for the purpose you need it, and most of the time you'll get it at the price that's appropriate. So I just go, this is where creating that decision-making framework helps your customers make a better decision.
Listeners, if you would like Darren to create you Darren's decision making framework template that you can download and take the next time you go shopping for an item of significance, leave a comment or a like, send me a message, and we'll put pressure on him to design this template and get it done, because I think the world needs Darren's decision making template. Do you agree?
I'm more than happy to help, Mr. Creek. That was
Great.
very excellent.
Fantastic. See, we're giving here, we're givers here on the Blink podcast. And number 8, the final piece, and I think this is very much of the moment. This is something that's coming now to the world.
I don't care what a business you're in. I don't care what industry you're in. If you can start getting your head around number 8, it's a kicker.
It's been around on and off in certain little pocketed, bubbled areas, niche areas.
Yeah.
But it is now, and technology is allowing it to happen. The affordability of machines and things like that's allowing it to happen. But this is personalization. Yep. This is that no two experiences need be the same.
If you can get your head around your product and then work out how you can personalize it to the customer and almost, well, the individual customer, not a group of customers, not your customer base, but to an individual customer, you can personalize what you do for that particular customer. You will build a customer relationship that's built on trust, that's built on service proposition, and you will have customers for life.
Yeah, there's a real estate agent that I work with up in New South Wales, and he's got an elderly client who's buying investment properties.
Nice.
And he knows that she struggles with her mobility. So what he does is he meets her at the airport.
What?
And drives her around to the houses to inspect. So he sets up a little tour. Cool. He calls them Tommy's Tours. And he gets her, and now they're starting to make videos about them.
Love it.
And he goes, all right, I've got 3 properties. And so she goes, all right, I'll be up in the next 2 weeks. Here's my flight. He picks her up at the airport. They tour the 3 properties. She decides whether she wants to buy 1, 2, or 3. And then he drives her back to the airport. He does not do that for any other of his clients. Now,
that's
personalization.
That's great.
But that is personalization. Uber drivers do it now.
Yep.
You get in the car and they've got esky. What do you want? Soft drink or water? Sparkling or still? Kiki K, the stationery retail chain, they made a massive boom about 4 or 5 years ago. You'd go in, you'd buy your stationery. Now, the stationery was slightly better than what you'd get at an Officeworks or a Kmart or a Big W.
Yep.
But the on the counter was this big embossing machine. And right there, the upsell. Hey, for an extra $6, we can emboss in gold lettering your initials on the front cover of this diary or journal or whatever it was. And all of a sudden, the value of that diary's just gone up in your mind. You've personalized the experience. You've delivered higher expectations. You've helped them make a choice for something better.
Yep.
And, if you're offering something like that after the sale's pretty much done, the suspicion's gone. It's pretty amazing.
Do you know one? Here's another one for me, mate. If you go to the high end of town and you look at some of those amazing stores with the flash handbags, and one of the things I've noticed with them is they're really now into the personalization. So they'll stitch your name into the bag, right? Yeah. Now, this is the piece for me. Is I go, when you get sick of that bag, or it's not something you really want anymore, the ability for you then to on-sell it you only can sell it to a person that's got the same name as you, right?
Yeah, you're going to have to go and find all the Darrens on Facebook Marketplace.
Totally. Right.
The bag for
So what
Darren.
it does is it just expands your marketplace. It makes your market bigger by personalizing, And I just go, there's some simple things that a lot of industries can do right now that just by putting the client's name or creating some personalization in the service process, you really give the customer a feeling of it's all about them, it's to them personally, and you actually will extend your market. So yeah, I just think that whole area of personalization now has gone absolutely to the point where we've got to do it more in whatever industry we're in.
And from a service point of view, too. Think about
Yeah.
it not just from a
Oh,
product point of view. Service. What is it that you can offer that's different to anyone else in terms of how you can treat them or the experience that you can provide? Now, I'm not saying, hey, just because you can play the guitar, that you should be playing the guitar at your open for inspections, or that because you play the piano, you get a piano put into the car yard so you can play piano. But there has to be something extra that you can offer
yep,
that makes you
definitely.
different.
Like I've got one of my clients, once they get an understanding and they deal in, I must admit, in a higher end of property, but one of the things they do is once they get the relationship with a particular customer and they understand what their interests are, they buy them a magazine subscription.
Yeah.
So by sending each month, the company who provides the subscription sends the magazine for them automatically every month. And basically that creates a sense of actually, I'm thinking about you because you've got an interest in whatever it is that you're interested in. And that magazine turns up at your doorstep for 6 months or 12 months as a way of recognizing that relationship we have. And I just go, that's personalization, right? That's creating a real connection with your customer. And I don't know about you, but I think that, if you've ever got that personalization touch from any industry or any business, you become very loyal to it just because they've done it for you.
Mm.
You have a sense of loyalty. They did this for me and it was about me. So then I will stick with that company and be loyal to that. So yeah, I think it's you said that before. They're starting to do it across some industries, but I think in the wider spectrum now, it has got to become a key thing that you do.
You have to be careful about which interests you choose to discuss with the salesperson because you might end up with some pretty funky magazine subscriptions, Darren.
No, they don't do those anymore, mate.
I didn't realise they did magazines anymore, so you've just blown my mind or taken me back to the 90s.
There you go.
Is that a thing, is it?
Well, it's a really clever way of just having listened to the customer and to be able to deliver something that's completely different to what others would do. And, emails or a newsletter, a digital newsletter, all of a sudden, if you do something different, it becomes all personalized about them. Another one of my clients knows another one of their clients loves a particular bottle of wine. So there's a particular wine that they really love. So every time there's a new vintage that comes out, he goes in and buys this particular wine and sends it. Guess what? Every time this person does a real estate transaction, they do it through that person.
So I should be expecting some Whitakers on the way.
I would say.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, well, while I wait for the Whitakers to turn up, I think that was a great episode. Don't want to pump your tyres up, mate, but I thought you performed exemplary today. I struggled a little bit in moments because I've given up on Pepsi Max, and so the brain neurons aren't quite connecting at the moment. So we'll wait till they come back together and detox. But yeah, it's a great topic. I could talk about this stuff forever about who is your client.
Yeah.
If you are struggling with this, if you're a business that's doing everything that you think you should be doing, but you're not getting the traction, why don't you reach out to us? Why don't you come on to an episode and we'll dissect it for you and give you all the answers that you're after. We'll give you that high expectation at a budget conscious price of $0 and help you out for free. Personalized.
Love it.
That's it. Thank you,
Mate,
guys.
Thank you so much, man. It's so good for us to throw these topics around, because I know that, and I'm just thinking to myself some of the key points that we talked about today, thinking about what we do in our own businesses and how you as a listener can do it in yours. So thank you so much, mate. This is a great episode, and looking forward to catching up with you on the Blink podcast real soon.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to the decision-making template. It's going to be awesome.
Good
Thanks,
work.
guys.
See
Peace
you
out.
soon. Okay, bye.
Cheers.